learning training libraries. Okay, so the coming module masteries, we're going to dive a little more into e-learning and the specific modules, assessment builder, the pathways. So I'm quite excited about that because that is the basis of the modules that causes income for Signify, mostly. Okay, so and they have walked an illustrious path from start until today. But in essence, as with everything in development, they are quite simple. Okay. Agenda, a quick overview, and then we're going to speak about the hierarchy of training libraries. The four most important ones we are going to speak about today: qualifications, programs, unit standards, and training interventions. And the order is important, as that is the same hierarchy. The topmost level is qualification and the bottommost level is training interventions. Okay. So qualifications can have programs as requirements, but the programs can't have qualifications as requirements. Okay. Okay, so a quick overview. The training libraries are the basis of the e-learning module. When a learner record is created, so we must just get the terminology right. I hear people speaking about this learner got this training intervention. No, that's not right. This learner got a learner record. The learner record is an instance of a library item. Right, that sometimes gets mixed up. Yeah, so let's get that right from the start. The hierarchy of the training libraries are qualifications, programs, unit standards, training interventions. Okay. Okay, let's dive into qualifications. Qualifications, the source table name is called qualifications. So let's quickly have a look at the table. Most of the columns in the qualification table are only properties, and there aren't business rules connected to those fields in the system. If this field is that, then this displays there. So today we'll focus on the fields or the properties of the training libraries that actually there are business rules connected to it that should be taken into account. Okay, the other are properties like your surname. So there's no business rules on your surname, not that I know of. All right, but there are business rules in life connected to your race and to your gender. Okay, so not all of them are fair, but they're there. Okay, qualifications table was one of the first tables in the Signify system. It is not date driven, so it was still back in the day when the tables were flat tables, and some of the fields where you would normally store a foreign key, there's still a text field, say. Like for instance, NKF level here. If I remember correctly, NKF level received a foreign key at one stage. FK qualification type, NQF FK. Okay. So one of the most important fields are the title, and obviously with the schemification, schema ID is also now important. The total credits. So outside you receive credits for doing courses. I don't know if you have done courses where you receive credits, 10 credits or 15 credits. So the requirement might say you need 60 credits to complete the subject, but you must do certain courses to get to the 60 credits. Okay, so the qualifications credits is important. Here are some of the properties that you will see on the front end. Let me open the front end as well. While we're waiting, while I'm logging in, can a qualification expire?
I think so. Yes.
Do you say William Gert Nardis?
I say no, Theuns. Because you're qualified to that point. Yeah. But the training on it can expire.
A qualification can't expire, a training intervention can expire.
Exactly that.
Sorry.
Yeah, so that's the question. So your degree won't be taken away from you.
You have to go renew like your driver's license.
Yeah. But your professional membership must be renewed. So if you're an engineer, for instance, you must register with the Engineers Council of South Africa, EXA. And you must, to keep registered with them, and the same for medical doctors, a certain amount of points have to be earned and conferences attended and so on and so forth.
And money paid.
Yeah. And that, I think, is the most important part of that transaction. Okay. Yeah, so qualification can't expire. All right, let's go back to the presentation. The highest level in the training library hierarchy. So one of the most important options on a qualification is the learner record options. So what does the learner record options do? It tells you the conditions where you will be automatically rewarded this qualification. Okay, so if we read here, when all conditions met, when all programs have been completed by the learner. Okay, where's all programs stored? It's under link programs. Okay, so when you have a learner record, not programs, when you have learner records for these programs, let's say completed and competent, then you will have a qualification record as well that says completed and competent. Okay, so let's say there's 3 requirements, 3 programs, and you've only completed 1. Completed will be no, and competent will be no, but the learner record will still be created. So when you have one of the requirements, when you fulfill one of the requirements, the learner record is created, but gets updated as you achieve the other programs. Okay, so the start date, training date for the qualification is the 1st of January 1900, right? No, it's the minimum start date of any of your program records. So if you have 3 program records obtained in January of 2020, 2021 and 2022, then the start date of your qualification will be January of 2020.
So let me just, so for instance, you can have a training record that's completed and competent, but you need these 5 training records to be completed and competent for the program.
For the qualification.
For the qualification.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the same applies to the program, but we'll get to the program. Program has different requirements. Okay. So but the logic stays the same throughout the library items. The qualification can also be revoked. There's revoke functionality. So there are companies who present qualifications to learners. So let's say in this case, so we say a qualification cannot be taken back, cannot expire. But let's say the learner record was created in error for the program. So now there's a qualification learner record for you. Okay, that learner that says you're completed and competent, that learner record can be revoked if you choose it to be revoked. Revoke the program. So do you see the error here? It says revoke program learner record.
And it's a checkbox.
No, it's a qualification. Okay. So there is a procedure that runs once daily to synchronize learner records. It's called EL2 auto create update learner records. All right. It basically contains a synchronization for qualifications, for programs, and for unit standards. Okay. There's no instances where training interventions are created automatically because they're at the bottom of the food chain. Okay. They don't have children. All right, so the controlling procedure calls EL2 auto create update qualification learner records. And there is a reason why it is in that order as well. So if you look at it, it's in ascending order. Unit standard, programs, qualifications. Because a unit standard that gets created might affect a program that needs to be created, and a program that needs to be created might affect a qualification. In that order. Okay. So this is quite interesting. You maybe have heard the acronyms, but workplace skills plan and annual training report are two very important reports on the system. Who can tell me where they are used in practice? Okay, who has heard of the SETAs, the Sector Education Training Authorities?
Heard of them, but I don't know exactly what they do.
Okay, so companies who register with the SETAs and declare their training with the SETAs can get up to 20% back in the funds they spend on training. So let's say Harvey, Signify pays for a course that Harvey does, and that course costs 1,000 Rand. Then Signify can get 200 Rand back in a rebate, in a tax rebate, that they can use to reinvest in training. Okay, so, but what you need to do is, before the year starts, you need to tell the SETAs, and there are different SETAs for different sectors of the economy. There's Agri-SETA and LG-SETA. So, and they have different requirements. So you have to hand in a plan to them to say, Harvey and Rian and William and Gert and others each are going to do 3 courses. That is the plan. So that is your workplace skills plan. Okay, so your workplace skills plan said the employees are going to do 15 courses in total. The annual training report says what training was done. Okay. So that is, I'm going to show it on the system now as well. So WSP, what are you going to do? In ATR is what have you done? So under WSP ATR, for each of the training libraries, has a WSP ATR tab, which you can select the ATR here. All right, so let's select that one. And this is some of the information that changes each year. Category, subcategory, the CETA program, whether it's pivotal training or not might change. Okay, so you have your fixed and your variable value section. So this stays fixed. This changes. I think it's configured somewhere. I'm not 100% sure. Just CETA formats, training levels.
ATR.
Yeah.
No.
CETA period data. Okay, so let's go to that one. So you can link your ATR categories or copy your categories from one of the previous years as a baseline to start from. So this is Jade. Let's do that. Okay, and obviously there's no target set up. Okay. So any questions on ATR, WSP? It is a discussion for about 2-3 sessions if you discuss them on their own, but that is in broad strokes what they're used for.
Seems to make sense.
The legislative first and second category is repeated in all training libraries. So you'll see on the training libraries there are fields and you can actually set a value for legislative first category. You can set the alias for the field. So they're two, let's call them variable fields. Okay. Okay, great. You have a qualification type as well. So no specific business rules behind this. Except if you use the learnership module, but we don't, the learnership application module is not currently active or in use. What is there else? Yeah. The costing structure. So the costing structure, I think it is in one of my later slides, but let's cover that now. Is the cost the company has to spend to train you on that qualification. Okay. More applicable to training interventions, but it is added to each of the training libraries. For training intervention, you have to fly somebody in to Bloemfontein or Potch to do the training. They have to hire a car, there has to be accommodation costs, there's food costs, there's facilitator and course cost. So all the costs you incur as a company to provide training for the learner is captured here. Okay. Some of the costs are editable, some are not, are fixed. Some can be changed per attendee. So on training scheduling, when I say this cost can be changed per attendee, then on the attendance register, the field becomes available. It's not read only, you can edit the field. So what would an example be of that?
Travel.
Yeah, not all of us travel from the same part of the world or South Africa. Okay, but what will be the same?
Food.
Yeah. 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 The food might not be the same cost.
Yeah,
some might overspend and some might underspend. Okay, but normally
course cost will stay the same, I believe.
I believe so. I believe so. Hopefully the accommodation as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so the total cost of training employee to achieve this qualification. Okay, any questions on qualifications? There are learnerships. Learnership is also a training library. I just quickly want to show that. So learnerships is an instance of a qualification that is funded by the company. Okay. So company has a learnership. So let's say we're a software company, we have a learnership for software developers. So we have, let's say, 2 learnerships for software developers. If you obtain the learnership, it means the company is going to train you to become a software developer. Okay, that's an instance of a qualification. So you'll see on the learnership, you select from the qualifications library. Okay. That is in essence all a learnership is. A learnership, also known as a bursary, for instance. Okay. Programs. Skills programs table. So let's quickly have a look at the skills programs table. Also as credits, there are a lot of properties that don't have business rules linked to them in the system, or just properties of the program. One thing that I want to mention, you'll see the libraries have credits, hours, there's something else, NQF level. Those fields and learning type as well, but not for all of them. Training category. When you create a learner record, those fields are copied over to the learner record. So it's delinked from the library because they might change. So the NQF level of a qualification might change over time, but when you obtain it, it was NQF level 6. Now it may be NQF level 7. The hours required to complete the training intervention might change over time. Also, the credits obtained might change over time. So those fields are copied over to your learner record when they are created, when your learner record is created. All of the fields has a short code field, a code field as well. So code is the unique code field for that specific intervention or program or qualification or unit standard. Okay. If you speak to people in education, all of them know the unit standard codes. Okay, we'll look at an example of a unit standard just now, but they don't know it by the name, they know it by the code. Okay. Learner record options is created when this one is loaded. To understand the background of programs, it was requested by ARM to have programs created automatically from requirements. So you obtain a program when all the core unit standards have been obtained and completed. When the total credits, so on your program, there's a field for credits, let's say it's 60. When all the credits for the unit standards that you have obtained is equal to or above the credit requirement. Okay? And all the training interventions required by the program have been completed. Okay, so it's a bit of a mouthful. There is a setting that says the program will only be created if it's linked to your job profile. That setting is also activated for ARM. It's not a well-known setting, but it is a setting. So someone asked the other day, why isn't this program then a record created for this user? This user fulfills all the requirements, but the setting is on. And that program is not linked. If you remember, job profile has a requirements profile. That program is not linked as a requirement on your job profile. That's why it's not created. Okay, so there is a setting, and that setting should be on. Let me quickly show that here. Program must be part of job profile. Okay. From the module settings, it is a global setting. So schema ID equals 0. So just going to make a note of this. As this is not going to work for schemification. Okay. So, but this setting is then used later on. Okay, so programmers, employee skills program ID greater than 0. Yeah, that must be linked to your job profile. Okay, else what can happen, if it's not linked to your job profile, then you can have an employee. If the stars, the moon, and the earth align, and he obtains all the training interventions, all the core unit standards, all of them align, and then he's just randomly awarded this program. So it is a possibility, but that is just to prevent that. So it must be physically a requirement on your profile. Okay, it can also be revoked, same as qualifications. So I've quickly shown you EL to auto create, update program, and records control. Interesting, but we'll cover that in some of the next module masteries. A pathway category can be linked to a program. So for those of you who've used pathways, a category categorizes or groups pathways together. And so if you have a program linked to a category, then that will also force the end user, when creating the pathway, to link unit standards to the children pathway of that category. Does it make sense? Because unit standards are requirements of programs. A client can build a curriculum in that way and ARM again uses that. They build a pathway category for a program, and then all the child pathways are unit standards. This groups them all together. Let's see if I can show a quick example here. Okay, let's do that. Let's edit this category. I want to show the field. It's ad hoc, the program, or an external connector. Okay, so the meaning of that we'll cover in some of the next module mastery, but just know that you can select program, and then you select a program library item to be linked to that category. Same with a pathway. It just helps the client to structure their training and group related training together. Okay, let's edit that pathway. And you'll see on the pathway you'll have ad hoc or unit standard. I don't think there's an external connector there. Ad hoc or unit standard. So once a program is selected, you can only select from the list of unit standards linked to that program. Okay, currently over here you can select from the whole library because there's no program linked to the parent. Okay. All right, any questions on the programs? Okay, great, let's carry on. Unit standards is the unit underscore STDS table. So all of these tables were created before 2005 already. Let's select from unit standards. see some of the older tables. I can sometimes spot them. You can see trends over time. So the primary key was called something else, PKUS, PK skills programs, PK activity. Okay. And the code, shortcut, so you have credits as well. A lot of properties. Again, let's go to the front end. Libraries. Right, so WSP ATR costing structure. The assessor's moderator. So when you do a unit standard in the industry, you must have an on-site assessor. It's like you doing your K53 license. Somebody must evaluate physical action that you're performing, that you can demonstrate, I'm able to perform this action. So the workplace assessment app is used for that purpose. So the assessor stands beside the road, the employee climbs into the haul truck and drives the truck and demonstrates that he can get the truck up and running, brake, stop, turn around, and the whole while the assessor is giving marks, okay, on the competency. So the outcome is just yay or nay. Can you or can't you do it? Okay. To show something here. Just so you know, the standard is a brick in the wall, and the wall is a qualification. Okay, so it's a lot of building blocks towards a qualification. Each unit standard has a clearly defined outcome and performance criteria to reach a certain level of competency. Let me show an example quickly. So this is SAQA, the South African Qualifications Authority. So this is the template. This is the template for, I think this is, yeah, sorry. This is actually unit standard 114877. Okay. Formulate and implement an action plan to improve productivity within an organizational unit. That's a unit standard. Okay. So you can go and read. I'll place the link on the group. The specific outcomes measure current levels of single factor productivity and identify the factors. Formulate an activity plan. So there's no gray areas in the unit standard. It's all clearly defined. Obviously the outcome notes, also the assessment criteria. Assessment, and this can become quite complex. Productivity measures are selected to identify single factor productivity in an organizational unit. Okay, so it's directly linked to the specific outcome. So it's just can you or can't you do it? All right, all the properties, you'll see it's a generic management unit standard. This is the field that is defined in, okay, so it's not ABET, it's not adult-based education. All right, so this is a unit standard. I just thought I'd just show that. As an example, because it can, a unit standard can be, if you're fresh out of university, you probably wouldn't have dealt with unit standards. So it's not a familiar concept. So learner record options, a learner record is created when all training interventions required by the unit standard have been completed. No revoke function. So the controlling procedure, EL to auto-create learner records, calls EL to auto-create update unit standard learner records. We go to the front end again. I think I say something about the assessors moderator. The path can be linked to a unit standard. Yeah. A learner has to demonstrate they can achieve the outcome. So you can go and link specific assessors or moderators to this unit standard. So only certain people in your organization can be an assessor or a moderator for a unit standard. So you can link employees. Okay, so they are of type employee. Okay. Any questions on unit standards? No standard questions. Not yet. Okay, so training interventions can expire. So activities table. Activities. Short description is the name. NKF level, again you'll see text as well as NKF band. Cost estimate is a long description, actually learning type, nature of learning, category, showing report, subcategory, what is the sort order, what is the short code, skills, it's not skills program, it's skills priority. Who provides us training, in other words, who presents the training. The hours, again, remember the hours are copied to the learner record when the learner record is created. As well as the credits. Certificate display name, what name should display on the certificate for this training intervention? So in your company, it's called an advanced driving course, but you want to display driving course on the certificate. Okay. Min and max attendees. Min and max is the attendees on the training event. There is also a limit that is transferred to the event when the event is created. Training intervention type, that's your pathway step types. You have different pathway steps. Assessment, SCORM, SCORM-X API, certification point, classroom. There's quite a few pathway step types. That is that foreign key. Okay.
So these are just the activities themselves.
Yeah. Before they are converted to learner records.
And then it goes to the train rec.
That's right.
Table.
That's right. So everything goes into a train rec. Can you log to learner record? Yes or no? That determines whether you are able to log to learner record on training scheduling on a training event. Okay, so on a training event, when you complete attendance register, you can log the attendance of employees to learner record. Okay, and you can indicate whether they've completed the course, whether they are marked as a no-show. That sometimes happens. That's why you get gate crashers on the day. Can you print a certificate? And the expiry period, which we'll speak about now, that is a certificate, print certificate when the training is completed or competent. Those are the two options. Okay. Why would you only want to print a certificate when it's completed and not competent?
Maybe you want to show participation?
Just participation. So just a participation event. When you're not assessed during training, you don't have to be competent because training is not assessed.
And the print certificate, does that give you the ability to?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you turn printing off completely? Why would you want to do that? What is a?
There are training events that are loaded for you as recognition of prior learning. So it was obtained by yourself, not necessarily presented by your company, but presented outside of your company. Then your company can't print a certificate for you, but they must load your training history. So if you did a short course on
LinkedIn, I can follow guys and I'll show you.
Yeah.
But you can't print
You can't print
LinkedIn's name.
you can't print LinkedIn's name on a certificate.
Okay.
I wanted to say regular expressions. Let's go into one of the training interventions. Yes, the pathway step type training provider. There is a lot of properties here. I'm going to show in the presentation as well. Allow viewing of transcripts. So on your pathway, at the end of the pathway, you can either see a transcript of the assessment you've done or not. You set it here on the training intervention. Okay. Documentation required. So when you achieve the learner record, do you need to upload documentation with that learner record? Yes or no? That's a license requirement for the license module. So even though you have a learner record that says you're completed and competent, if the documentation hasn't been uploaded, then the front end says you haven't completed the prerequisite training for that license yet. Okay. In some cases, documentation is required. Why? Let's take an example. You did a Code B driver's license. You need to provide proof for the driver's license. So the mine didn't issue you with a normal driver's license. The municipality or the traffic department did. But you have to provide proof that you obtained that license. So documentation is required. Okay. Exclude from reports only from certain specific reports, like the training history report, can this intervention be excluded? So it doesn't show up on the report. Okay. A use case for that would be prerequisite training that the employee did, but management does not want to report on that training. So they exclude it from the reports. So usually what the company doesn't manage, external training, they don't want to see that on the reports. Okay. Learnership options, no, we're not going to do that. Training scheduling options. Okay, this is the log to learner record field. So log to learner, you'll see on the pathway, when we do pathway, each of the pathway, the learner record steps, when you edit the pathway, it says log to learner record. You set it there on the step. For the assessment, you set it on the library. For training interventions, for training scheduling, you set it on the library, whether you log a learner record or not. So let's say you do SCORM training run, that is determined by the library. So the moment you create SCORM e-learning content, you tell the system, log this to learner record or not. So when you open the SCORM training in the background, a learner record is created for you. It says completed now, competent now, because you've just started the training. But SCORM training is also a discussion, a longer discussion, but SCORM training can either be just training material or training material and an assessment, or only an assessment. So not all SCORM content that you view, for instance, the pollens, not each of the modules has an assessment link to it. Okay. But a learner record is logged. Here's the printing of a certificate when a learner has been found competent or completed. Okay, when to print Who can print? Allow the learner to print a certificate. So if the learner can print a certificate, then it's available on My Achievements and on the pathway certification points. You can choose the certificate and you can choose what the name on the certificate should be. So this is Signify Training Certificate Schema 3. It could say Harvey or Rian. Okay. And depending on how you develop the certificate, that name displays in on the certificate. So certificates are uploadable reports. Okay. Learner record expiry options. So there are three options. Either the training intervention never expires. Here's an example of training that never expires.
Someone's degree.
No, that's qualification.
That's good.
So let's say you do training on target process. Somebody presents internal training on target process. Except if we have refresher training, then it will maybe expire in a year. Then but that is an example. An example of training that expires is your not medical certificate. Your first aid certificate expires within a year. Some cases 2 years. So it either does not expire. Okay. Please note the expiry details potentially have a system-wide impact, and therefore it is crucial that the correct expiry information is captured. Some implications of an expired learner record: that a course is marked as outstanding on an employee's PDP, or that a pathway is seen as not completed. The functionality exists to send expiry warning notifications. So there are notifications developed that can be sent out to say your target process training is expiring in 7,000 years. Okay. Learner records, the second option, expire a certain amount of months after the training has been completed. Okay, but so many months before expiry date, this is called the advanced warning period, the course will be reopened on a pathway. Okay. And if a learner repeats the course again, sorry, from the advanced warning period onwards, a new learner record will be created. So refresh your training before the advanced warning period. The previous learner record is just updated. Do your training after the advanced warning period as commenced. So let's say expiry period is 12 months and your advanced warning period is 2 months. In month 10, after month 10 to 12, if you do the training again, a new learner record is created. Do it before month 10 and the previous learner record is updated. Okay, does make sense?
Yes. Will the expiry date also extended if you update the...
Yeah, because then you have a new, your latest learner record is then valid from that point onwards for 12 months.
Okay.
So for example, if your qualification requires 5 learner records,
yeah,
and you do 4, and you wait a year to do your 5th one, and one of the other ones you've already had expired, and you do your 5th one, then you won't obtain your qualification.
Yes. The third expiry option that is used sometimes, there's a discussion on this now. One of the clients wants to use this. What they want to do is they want all the training to expire now, and the learner record expires from the 1st of August onwards. But right after that, they want to change the expiry period back again to 12 months. So the only place you define expiry is on the training intervention library. So if you change it and change it back again, whatever the latest option is you've selected is the option that is valid. So we are speaking about, and we have spoken about this on many occasions now, to have an individual learner record expire, independent of the library. Okay. Expiry options. The certificates, documentation, transcripts, log to learner, the costing structure. So the costing structure is originally defined on the training intervention. When I create a training event, my accommodation cost of 500 and my travel cost of 400 gets copied over to the event. It's now linked to the event. On the attendance register, I go one step further and I save these costs against your learner record. They're copied from the event to the learner record. So you can see there is an instance where the cost on the intervention or the library items becomes disconnected from the event and the learner record becomes disconnected from the event. Does that make sense? The event costs become disconnected from the train intervention and the learner record cost becomes disconnected from the event. Why? That's the reason why we call it inflation. Okay, costs change. So what the cost, you have to say this slowly. What the costs were 2 years ago isn't the same as the current costs. Okay. Exclude from reports, only available on specific reports, for instance, a training history report. Okay. Pathway step type, let me show that. You have seen it, but these are all, or most of them, are pathway steps, assignment step, notification point, classroom, practical assessment, question mark assessment, SCORM content, system movie, Adobe Connect Live, Adobe Connect recording. Okay. Don't plan to currently use that, but those steps are available, so you can physically launch an Adobe Connect meeting from a pathway. Okay, or a recording of a previous meeting, a meeting that has already taken place. Okay. Related courses. On a training intervention, you have related courses. Okay, what is an equivalent course area? What does that mean?
Is it a course that will give you kind of the same outcome, same?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Like you need.
If you've, let's take an example for a driver's license. Okay, if I've completed my Code C license, then I also complete my Code B, my light motor vehicle license.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I did. So C is an equivalent for B.
But is B an equivalent for C?
No.
Okay, so it's still
CCAV, motor vehicle license.
okay.
Okay. So that means you complete a course First Aid 2022. But there's also a course called First Aid 2023. All new employees do First Aid 2023. It's equivalent. It's marked as completed. But First Aid 2022 was linked as a requirement to a license. You don't necessarily want to change the requirements each year. You link equivalents. Okay. A required course. A required course, in this case, I think it says here, when you say add a required course. When I add a learner record, and let's say I have advanced Excel set up, but a required course is basic Excel. So when I capture advanced Excel on the learner records or the import, it's going to look for basic Excel in my learner record history. If I do not have a learner record for basic Excel, I won't be able to add advanced Excel as a learner record to my learner records history. That is what required courses are for. Okay, so it's sort of the requirements as qualification as program requirements, a program as unit standard requirements, and a unit standard as training intervention requirements, but dependencies between interventions. Okay. So the equivalent using Pathways license and PDP to determine requirement completion. And the requirement course, just need to correct that, added as learner record before the training intervention can be added as a learner record against the learner. And then there's a tab called Event Learner Records on training intervention. So on the event, who of you have seen training scheduling? Okay. So what does this mean? So let's say I'm going to add a training intervention here. When I do the classroom event for being assertive assessment, I will be able to log learner records not only for being assertive assessment, but also for Nando's second legislative only from the training scheduling event. From the event. Okay, let me quickly open the training scheduling module. So why is that done? A client could schedule training, but in that training week or two that is scheduled, they complete 3 courses. At the end of the training, they need to log 3 learner records to your profile. Okay, let me go back here. If there are training interventions, yeah. There's 2 planned events. Okay, we're almost finished. This is actually the last thing I wanted to show. This is the attendance register for a training event. So 2 were invited. How many came? How did they do? How many gate crashes were there? What is a gate crasher?
Someone was not scheduled to be there.
Yeah.
They ended up going.
Yeah. Why would that normally happen? What happens in airlines? They overbook a flight so that somebody else can actually take the seat. So the day before they realize this guy's not going to attend, so they phone Peter and Kuruman and says, Peter, please come and attend this course. And Peter comes through. So, but he wasn't booked. He just gets a call, he's a gate crasher. That's such a nice word, eh? Gate crasher.
It's such a negative connotation.
No, not necessarily. Let's add an employee here. So when I create a learner record now, so this event, let's select the employee. Select this employee. So this training event was for Adele event test. So if you have more than one event learner record linked to your training intervention, so to Adele event test, there's Excel Basic and Excel Advanced. The administrator would be able to log learner record for Adele event test, Excel Basic and Excel Advanced from the attendance register.
Okay.
Okay. That's that. Any questions? Okay. William, Nardes, Gert, any questions from your side?
I'm good, thank you, Theuns.
Thank you, Theuns.
Oh, good, thanks.
All right. Thanks, then, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Okay, bye.
Speak to you again.
You too.
Okay.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
Theuns.
Bye-bye.